Welcome back to PCOS Healing Adventure with me, Dr. Ami Patel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about periods. Oh wait, let me not be so loud so my husband doesn't hear. Just kidding, let me say it louder. Periods, periods, periods. It's unfortunate that in our society we associate it as a taboo subject or something that's just like an annoyance. But today we're going to learn a little bit more about why periods are important even if we don't want to have a baby, and why we should want to have our period. There's so much we can actually talk about periods, but I don't want the video to get too long, so we're just going to do a brief introduction into periods. I'm not going to be focusing on birth control or what periods are like with PCOS. We're just going to learn a little bit about the cycles, the days, PMS, and things like that. So let's get right into it. Growing up with an Indian background, periods were considered a taboo subject. We weren't allowed to discuss them openly, especially not in front of dads or brothers. And if we were on our period, it was considered not clean or not pure. So if there was any religious activities happening at home or at the mandir/temple, then we weren't allowed to participate for the first 4 days. Growing up in America, in our society, we associate periods as an annoyance or a disturbance to our daily life or inconvenience.
I am not in the mood.
Oh, what are you on your period?
We think like, oh, I don't really have to worry about my periods until I want to have a baby, or if I don't want to have a baby, then I don't have to worry about my periods at all. But that's not true. Periods are really important for us. They tell us about our health, and if we have any issues with our periods, whether they're painful or PMS symptoms, or we're not getting periods, then those are all signs of a hormone imbalance that we should work towards fixing. So I'm going to go into a little bit about the different phases of the cycle and what average days look like. And when I'm talking about these, I'm talking about natural cycles, not cycles that occur when you're on birth control, because that's actually not a real period. It's something that's called like a withdrawal bleed or a pill bleed. And you may be wondering that, oh, I thought, taking the pill would regulate my hormones, but actually the pill prevents your natural hormones from regulating and going through the different phases, and it replaces it with synthetic hormones. I know, it's a little bit mind-blowing. I know I may have shocked some people by saying that it's not a real period and it's different. Trust me, I was mind-blown myself when I just learned this about a year ago, which I know is pretty embarrassing considering I'm a pharmacist and I myself was on the pill for 7 years. But I know this just goes to show that there's not enough knowledge about this topic, which is why I'm making this video. And thank you for taking the time out to watch the video and learn about your health or women's health in general. And that's why I'm here to make videos about PCOS and periods and women's health. If you want to be on birth control, that's totally fine. I'm not saying, don't take it, but just know like why you're taking it. And if you're taking it because you have certain period problems, whether it's PCOS or something else, just keep in mind that it's kind of just like a band-aid solution. And then once you come off of the birth control, whether it's to have a baby or you just decide that you want to come off of it, if you haven't made any lifestyle changes in the meantime, then most likely your problems that you had before you started the birth control will still be there after you stop the birth control. And I don't want to go too much into birth control other than that, and I will talk about it in future videos, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss those. So the first phase is known as menstruation. This is usually about day 1 to day 7. On average, it's about 4 to 5 days for most women. And this is usually when your uterine lining is being broken down, and if you were to get pregnant, then that's where the baby would be forming on the uterine lining. But since you're having your period, you're not pregnant, and so therefore it's the uterine lining that's shedding, and that's the bleed. The second phase is the follicular phase, and this is usually like the end of the menstruation phase, whether it's like day 7 or 6 or 5 up to about 14 days. And this is when your estrogen starts rising and the ovarian follicles mature for ovulation. The third phase is called ovulation. This usually occurs around day 14 to day 16, and this is when the ovarian follicle matures and releases what we call the egg. And then the fourth phase is called the luteal phase. This occurs around day 16 to day 28, and this is basically when your progesterone starts going up and falls, and then once it falls off, that's around the time that the follicle that released from your ovary releases from your body, and that's when you start the bleed, and then you go to day 1 and the cycle repeats. So another thing that I was mind blown by, which I just learned last year, is that based on the woman's cycle, we women are only fertile for about 24 hours, which is when we're ovulating. And then because sperm can live in our body for about 5 days, that increases our chance of getting pregnant to about 6 to 7 days. So based on that, basically out of all the 28 days in our cycle, we're only fertile for about 6 days, and not just like any random day in the cycle.
You just blew my mind.
So now we'll talk a little bit about delays or missed periods, and this is basically your body telling you that it's like unsafe to have a baby. And I know we're more than just baby making machines, but really it's just signaling your ovaries like not to have a period because it's not a safe environment to have a baby. And your body determines this from many things. It could be things such as stress, like especially with dealing with COVID in the past 1 year. There was a lot of changes in people's lifestyles, whether it's like, working from home or doing virtual schools or, any other like health effects from COVID to yourself or family members. Stress like that can signal your body not to have a period. Inflammation, whether it's from eating certain foods or chronic stress, can cause inflammation. Other things like traveling to a different time zone especially, or just like disrupting your regular cycle or routine, not getting enough sleep. Those are things that can trigger your body not to have a period. Sometimes not eating enough food, like not giving yourself enough nutrition or calories, going on a diet, but your body doesn't understand that that's a diet. And if it's not giving yourself enough calories or nutrition, then your body will realize like, okay, I don't have enough food to even keep myself healthy, then how can I have a healthy baby? So this is why you may not have a period during times like that. So say that, you were having regular periods and then there was like a drastic change in your life, then try to think about like what happened and try to kind of control the stress or minimize the stress as much as possible. Take time to rest and, give yourself nutritious meals and see if your cycle gets regulated again. If it continues to get like longer and longer and longer, then definitely try to, reach out to a healthcare professional to get help and figure out what the cause is. There are many hormones that play a role in a regular cycle, but we'll focus on 2 of the main ones. The first one is going to be estrogen. Estrogen helps with bone health, brain health, heart health. It helps reduce the risk of cancer, and it helps with our mood. Progesterone is the next hormone we're going to talk about. It's really important because it has many functions in the body and it produces after ovulation. Some of its functions are to promote bone health, reduce inflammation, help with reducing the risk of breast cancer and heart disease. It helps with promoting sleep and mood. It reduces anxiety. It helps build muscle. So, those are just some of the really important things about progesterone. And unfortunately, if you're on birth control, you don't produce the natural progesterone, and the synthetic progestin isn't the same and it doesn't give you the same benefits. And we'll definitely be talking more about progesterone later this month with Dr. Anusha Usman. We're going to be doing a masterclass together, so follow me on Instagram for that, the details on that, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss that when I post it later. When I posted about questions for this YouTube video on Instagram, a few people said that they noticed when they work out too hard at the gym that they notice like a delay or a missed period. So this can happen for many reasons. It depends on the type of workouts you're doing and how much other stress is happening in your life, and if those workouts are adding more stress to your body, if you're doing like high intensity workouts and you're not eating enough, then you know that could be stress to the body. Or if you're just working out like 2 times a day, 3 times a day, doing like an hour of Orange Theory and going like kickboxing at night, or biking for an hour, or anything extreme, those, as enjoyable as they may be to you, your body may be interpreting that as like excess stress, and for that reason you may not have a period. A few people on Instagram also asked me about PMS, so we'll talk about that. So PMS
means pissed at men syndrome.
For premenstrual symptoms, and this can occur about a week leading up to one's period. And PMS symptoms can be things like irritability, mood swings, anxiety, inability to sleep, withdrawing from social things, feeling depressed, crying all the time. So those are some examples of PMS. And just because they're really common, we think that it's normal to have them, but it's actually not. And this is also one of the interesting things I learned when I was learning about my period. PMS symptoms are not normal, and if we have regular cycles, then we shouldn't be experiencing PMS every single time.
If there's ever anything wrong, it's PMS, huh? Sometimes I don't know what to do. Sometimes I just want to smack you.
And I know many women probably now are thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if you didn't experience PMS? So some natural things you can do to help with the PMS symptoms, especially like 1 week before your period. But if you want to definitely implement these, for a healthier lifestyle, you can definitely consider that. But the natural remedies include things like, limiting your sugar intake, limiting caffeine, alcohol, limiting processed and fried foods, and eating more like fruits and vegetables, foods that are high in fiber like fruits and vegetables, eating like food that is high in healthy fats like ghee and coconut oil, avocado oil. Also trying to limit inflammatory foods that are inflammatory for you. Certain things that could do that is like dairy and wheat. I'm not saying for everyone, I'm just saying for you if it is inflammatory for you, which if you missed my video on how you can learn if certain foods affect you, then check out this video over here where I talk about how you can track your symptoms. And adding things like herder or turmeric to your diet to help with inflammation. Doing like exercise like walking and yoga can help with reducing stress and inflammation. So those are things you can try to help control your PMS symptoms. If they're definitely track those things. If you make certain changes once for one of your cycles and it's better, then make note of that. Or if it didn't get better, then try something else for your next cycle. And hopefully with being more aware of the signs that your body is giving you and being more aware of your cycles, you can learn about it and improve it. There's something that's similar to PMS, but it's a little bit more extreme, called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And this is basically all the symptoms of PMS, but they're just a little bit more extreme, such as like uncontrollable crying, feelings of depression and suicide, crying spells. Basically, these symptoms disturb the woman's relationships and her daily activities, like she has to miss work and school, things like that. So those are like really extreme symptoms, and if you're experiencing things like that, then definitely seek help from a medical professional as soon as possible. Many of you that have watched this video, you might be concerned now that your periods aren't regular, or they're missing, or you're on birth control and you want to come off, or that you have like severe PMS symptoms and you want to get help for it. And I definitely recommend that you get help. Go to